Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. We are back again to talk about cricket, and of course, we are building up to the mega event, which is the T20 World Cup, which is going to be played from within 5 days from now. The qualifiers start, and then we'll have the Super 12 10 days later. So it's all the build up right now, and I'm joined by Sandeepani and Jen will join us, of course. So let's get going regarding that. Sandeepani, welcome on the show. How are you feeling? And firstly, especially we know it's a build up to the mega event like T20 World Cup. So there are a lot of series which are happening across the world, and all these series can be considered as a warm up to this mega event because all the teams want to try out different combinations right now. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let's talk about the mega series which is happening, and what are your build up? What is your build up like? How are every teams performing across the world?
I think all in all, the preparation has been going great for all the teams because they are trying. A lot of teams who have seen that they have been trying a lot of permutations and combinations and looking at whatever bench strength that they have. And it is a good sign. Like we saw the series against, today it was England versus Australia, where England played another great game. And I think Alex Hills and David Malan sort of put rest to the thoughts of Phil Salt probably entering the side. So I think it's done now. Alex Hills and David Malan are going to start in the first game. Also, we saw a brilliant performance from Sam Curran as well. So there are players who are stepping up and sort of staking a claim to that, to some of those final positions. Where it concerns me, if you are an Indian fan, it will start concerning you, bothering you, because Deepak Chahar is also injured. So
Yeah.
yeah, you'll have to try somebody like Mohammad Shami, who is coming fresh from,
Mm.
like, after a long time
No,
he'll be
it's not
playing in
confirmed
international.
with Mohammad Shami, but we'll definitely because there are three names who are flying out of India tonight, which who
Yeah,
are Mohammad
and
Siraj,
I think
Mohammad Shami,
on
and
on the
Shardul
form, I
Thakur.
think on the form basis, I think Mohammad Siraj had a great series against South Africa. He started off
Mm.
really well, and I think India will now be looking at a bowler who can sort of take the responsibility at the top along with Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Because in case Bhuvneshwar Kumar is not 100%, I think they'll use somebody to replace him, because there is Arshdeep Singh and Harshal Patel, and I think the death over conundrum has been a major issue for Team India, but I think you have to trust those guys to finish the job for you over there. So I think Mohammad Siraj or Mohammad Shami will be a great, good enough like replacement for Bhuvneshwar Kumar.
Mm.
Not on the level of somebody like a Deepak Chahar, because Deepak Chahar, when you think of Deepak Chahar and Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Deepak Chahar looks like the Bhuvneshwar Kumar of 2012, 2013, when he used to come in at number
Right.
8 and play those finishing knocks sometimes, like play those important knocks with the bat as well, and with the ball always
Yeah.
in the power play. He has been very dominant.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it because now, if you talk about Deepak Chair also being injured, it's a massive, massive blow for Team India. And he's also another player who came after injury. You thought he was going to make it to the T20 World Cup. And in my opinion, he was higher up in the pecking order as well because he was named as a first reserve way prior to even anybody getting injured. So he should have been the ideal person walking into that team. But right now, him also not going to be even traveling to Australia, which means he's totally ruled out of the World Cup. There is not even a question right now that he's even coming to the team. And I don't know what exactly is his injury at this point. It says it's a stiff back, but it also looks like a relapse injury, like what we saw with Bumrah. And with Deepak Chair, he was looking in good rhythm. It was not like he was bowling badly. He just not looked like he was fit or something, but he was looking in good rhythm. But somewhere or the other, uh, he just couldn't make it. I think it is again a relapse. I don't know if it is to blame. The blame should go to NCA or if it should go to the people who have been managing him so well. Because often we have seen players getting relapse of these injuries, which is not a good sign. If you talk about especially if you talk about these players who are coming after NCA and everything, you are expected to be in full fitness. You also remember with Deepak Chai that he missed the IPL and everything was going as per the plan. He came in Zimbabwe, says he played the first match, took a break in the next one. He missed out on the Asia Cup, so it just didn't look like there was also overburden on him. I just do not understand at this point what is a stiff back all of a sudden. He was bowling beautifully in the T20 series in South Africa as well. Michael Andrew says England is speaking at the right time. Sandeep, your thoughts? Because winning against Australia in Australia and against a formidable Australian team batting first, it really speaks volumes that England are a strong, strong title contender at this point because Australians were the favorites before heading into the series or now even heading into the T20 World Cup. But now to go to their own backyard to defeat the defending champions, and they defended 178. More often than not, you will say it's an easy chase. And Sam Curran once again going out there, making a statement saying that put me in the starting 11. And remember, there's a Liam Livingstone who's yet to make to the team. He's not yet recovered. He's recovering from an ankle injury as well. So right now, England are very strong favorites moving into that T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I think definitely England were one of the strong contenders heading into the T20 World Cup, and with the form that some of the players have been displaying before the World Cup, these are obviously positive, very positive signs for England. I mean, I was just happy that David Malan was given a chance at number three, because I have always been very vocal about the fact that he's a very good number three player. He's that anchors. He's that player in your team whom you need, because he can play that anchors knock. And also when you need him, like in the recent years, in the recent past, he has tried to up the ante as well. And even today we saw that he paced his innings really well. Also today in today's game, you have to blame the Australian fielding as well. I mean, they some of those catches were very difficult, but the one that Tim David missed of David Malan, and just pushed the ball over to the boundary. I think that really went ahead and cost them the game
Mm.
eventually. And
But
also some of the players,
if you look, that 6 runs saved by Stokes did play a part ultimately. If you look in the
yeah,
context of the game as well.
6 runs saved by Stokes, and I mean that catch from Tim David cost them around 30-35 runs. The other catches were still difficult. The one that Zampa missed, and the one that I think it was Stark trying to sort of save the boundary or something like that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
the fielding was not up to the mark from Australia today.
yeah.
That the catch from Zampa was outstanding. The one that absolutely flew. He decided to go for it instead of the wicketkeeper, which was saying something. But right now you have to sort of start not questioning, but you have to start letting Maxwell know that he is in the team as a batter.
Yeah.
And you have to have performances. A number four of your team. We know Maxwell is that X factor player. When he's going very
Hmm.
strong.
Yeah.
But now it has been not just one series, but 2 to 3 series where Maxwell needs to come and sort of announce himself for the World Cup, basically.
Yeah.
Because we have seen performances from Stoinis, we have seen performances from Tim David. I think he has settled into the Australian team really well. And
Yeah.
then also there were performances from Mitchell Marsh. So Chris Green suffered. Chris Green was given the chance to open the batting along, like Aaron Finch rightly sacrificed his position because Green was in some great form,
But don't
but
you
he
think
could not
right now,
capitalize.
at this point, Chris Green's case is actually put behind? Jaren is also joining us. Welcome, Jaren, on the show. I'll ask you this question first up. I hope you're doing well, firstly. And yeah, we have been talking about Chris Green. We've been all a huge fans of Chris Green. He's already came to India. Every time a player does well against India, you tend to respect him a lot more. That's why the eyeballs also raise. But he's got enough opportunities now going back to Australia. He's got opportunities against West Indies. He's got opportunities against England as well in a game, but he's not really lit up the stage to make a claim for himself in the T20 World Cup 11, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean his innings. I think the way he came up, in that opening spot, as soon as he came, just as soon as he's destroyed his chances, I would say. I think Aaron Finch, who's probably at least in one day cricket, I mean T20 cricket and one day cricket, I've never seen him bat below number three at least. And for someone like him to come down to number four, it was incredible. It was an incredible sacrifice. Showed the kind of faith he put in Cam Green, and to not at all make an impact. It would be really devastating for the youngster and for the Aussie. And for the team as well. And also the fact that Stoinis started to ball a bit and do. I would say decently. I mean, he's not done extremely well, but then you don't expect the player, someone like Stoinis, to come and pick up 3 wickets or 4 wickets every match. And you think he's done a decent contribution with the ball. And the fact that both Marsh and Stoinis have started to play really well, settle into their roles. Marsh especially, he's had two very good innings in the past in the last two matches. So that being said, I think Cam Green, that whole debate is done. I think now Cam Green at least will stay a reserve player for quite some time.
Mm,
And at least for this World Cup, I don't expect to see him make a entrance. But
mm,
that being said, I think Cam Green. There's something that needs to be done. Maybe some study that needs to be done or inquiry that needs to be done there, because Cam Green has not been a great T20 player for quite some time, and
yeah.
the only T20 innings that he's played well was when he came to India. And again, I think he's repeated the same thing in Australia, and where much of his T20 cricket has been played. So
Yeah,
maybe there's something to Tim. I mean, not Tim. Sorry, Cam Green's
Cam Green.
performances when it comes to T20 in Australia.
Yeah, interesting that he pointed that out because his stats in India look totally different from what his stats are in Australia, and
Yeah,
his
I think
strike
his
rate is
average is
also
just about 10, barely about 10 in BBL. He's played
yeah.
quite a few seasons. So interesting to see. I think his batting definitely is not.
I mean, definitely at this point, Australia not also going into that fray where they're looking at Cam Green as a sure starter. They have
Yeah.
found, I think today's lineup is more or less likely going to be the lineup for the first match Australia are going to play, and even for England on the other hand, maybe Mark wouldn't make a comeback, and maybe Liam Livingstone will have to fit it there. But Australia looks like this is going to be their ideal 11 come the World Cup. They have their bowling lineup sorted out. They have Matthew Wade at number 7. Then you have top 6, which also means Steven Smith also would not be starting for this team. Interesting, right, Sandeep? Because we were talking about Steven Smith not being a part of this 11, and right now, if you look, Steven Smith has been totally outside of the T20 11.
I mean, with all the quality all rounders that Australia have in their kitty, I mean, Steven Smith really had to do something extraordinary to find himself in that position in that Australian team, especially because coming in at number 4, number 5 is not what is expected or what has been Steven Smith's strongest sort of forte. So coming in at number 4, number 5, you hardly get to play any sort of deliveries, and if you're not playing somebody like a Steven Smith at number 3, then there is no point playing Steven Smith, because right now Mitchell Marsh is doing a fabulous job batting at number 3 for Australia. I just think that they need some sort of stability in that number 4 slot, because they have been trusting Maxwell at number 4 and he has not been coming good. Probably try somebody like a Marcus Stoinis up the order at number 4, and then you also have the firepower of Tim David, Matthew Wade, and Maxwell to come and finish the job for you. Because we have seen that Maxwell has been struggling. It's very uncharacteristic of Maxwell that he has been struggling to get good starts, because often we see that Maxwell just come into bat and just get going. But in the last 5-6 innings, if you see Maxwell's, he has had a strike rate of close to 100, because he has been starting really slowly. He has not been getting those free shots that he usually gets on gets
Mm,
off the mark with a boundary or a six, or
mm.
those reverse sweeps. So I think
He looks a
he
bit,
is
he
not.
looks like a confused player at this point, isn't it? Because he doesn't look like he's getting off the block too quickly, and which also means that he's trying out something out of the box all the time. He wants to play a shot
Yeah,
early.
because I think that has to do with the lack of clarity in his role. Because one day he's coming in at number 5, one day he's coming in at number 4. Even though you are expected to be flexible when you're batting, but you need to know what your role is. Like
Mhm.
Maxwell all the time knew that he would come. He had that aggressive sort of a game where he'll come and go for the attack from ball 1. But right now, more often than not, when he comes and Australia are chasing, they have a particular target in mind, and they have lost 2-3 wickets early on. Because early on you used to see that Aaron Finch and David Warner used to take Australia off to a flyer, because they had a different sort of an approach. uh,
Mm,
like they used to get going, and then there was Steven Smith for some sort of uh, stability in the middle. But
mm.
right now you have Aaron Finch, David Warner completely coming and taking the attack on the bowlers. So on one day it can completely come off, but on the other day, if they get out cheaply, then Maxwell coming in does not know what he is needed to do. Whether
Yeah,
the Australian team has enough depth to sort of follow him and get the job done or not.
yeah,
But he
yeah.
has to realize that he is in that team as an aggressive player. He is expected to score 20-25 of 10-15 balls, 10 to 12 balls at a strike rate of over 150. That's his
Mm.
role in the team. And
Looks like it.
whatever he
At
gives
least
with the
you do
ball is an
understand
errant
his
bonus.
rule, but doesn't look like Australia really has defined it for Maxwell at this point. Couple of
Yeah.
us says that only yesterday T20 World Cup 2021 got over, and a blink of an eye, you have a next World Cup. Absolutely, for an Indian fan, you'll be happy with that because last debacle you didn't have to wait at least 4 years or 2 years for this. Now you're within less than a year's time, you have a World Cup, and I think it's on the same day India are taking on Pakistan as India took on Pakistan last year. So quite a lot of coincidences there, and hopefully the result is different for Team India. That's why I'm going to bring in some interesting stats up on the screen right now. It's totally World Cup dominated, and this is firstly a speed of pace ballers in the World Cup. But before that, I'll bring some interesting batting stats, which is going to maybe elate a lot of people. I'll bring this up. It is basically the stat of runs scored versus high pace average. So in that you can see India and England are right up on the chart. We're talking about 140 plus kilometers per hour since 2018. Two teams who have had no issues with facing fast bowlers in T20 cricket are India and England. then you have New Zealand, then you have Australia, then South Africa, then Pakistan, then you have the lower bottom. Of course, you expect that, but then for Team India, there's a good news, and also for England, you saw it today. They don't mind facing fast bowlers. They kind of suit. They are kind of suited to this kind of gameplay in Australia. That's why you see Alex Hales being so successful in BBL. Josh Butler has been ever so successful in all the pitches he plays. And now this is the most exciting part. The run scored versus short ball. The most comfortable team was a short ball since 2018 is Team India, and they're a mile ahead of everybody else. So
Yeah.
if you're a Team India fan, this is another thing, and you of course have Pakistan on the lower rank alongside Bangladesh and all the Asian teams. But when it comes to Sena nations and everybody else, India are way ahead. Jared, what are your thoughts on these stats? These are some telling stats ultimately, isn't it? India have always enjoyed
Yeah,
playing
I
in
mean,
Australia.
it's so what is really incredible in that stat. I mean, if you just pull that up, if you see right, India's got a strike rate of above. I mean, against the short balls, India's got a very good strike rate as well. I mean, yeah, I mean it's 135, but if you're scoring it at an average of 40, still with a strike rate of 135, I think that's incredible.
Mm.
It's just nice to see that that is the case. Although some interesting outliers as well. I mean, for example, West Indies having such a big strike rate but still getting out at having an average below 30, so it could be a viable strategy against them, but you might leak a bit of runs. So interesting to see that, but I think it's a turnaround, because you remember whenever India used to go to foreign countries, in Sena countries, in the one strategy that was always employed against Indian batsmen was to ball bang and shot against them, and get them out. And you've seen collapses where India have struggled against short ball, but it's good to see that India has turned that around. And I think there's a lot to it. Especially, I think I'll really credit IPL for it, because I feel now the Indian team the Indian team or the players that come into the Indian T20 team are used to these Sena Nation bowlers who play as the marquee foreign players for their for IPL franchises. So most of them have been. I mean, for example, someone like a Rishabh Pant, for instance, would have faced an Andrik Nokia in and out, in the nets. And I think the same goes for anyone else. Surya Kumar Yadav must have faced someone like a Mitchell McClenaghan, or Sanju
Mm.
Samson must have faced Jofra Archer, or all of these, come into picture. I think that's probably the reason why you see these stats favor India so much. Also, nice to see England actually there up there, because England is not English batsmen are not used to high pace bowling. I mean, you look at the English team, except I think Mark Wood, you won't see anyone hit that 135, 140, 145 plus on a regular basis. So to see that English batsmen are doing really well against high pace is also a very, very good sign for them. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting World Cup, because I think this is one World Cup where you'll see these high pace bowlers really come into the fore.
Absolutely, and that this is also a reason why we say that it is also important to have fast ballers in your team, but then it's important to use the fast balls against the right team. Maybe against a weaker opposition, you can deploy them. Maybe against better opposition, they kind of enjoy fast bowling coming on their bat. But we have another stat where Pakistan is way ahead, and India are not really there. India are just there and thereabouts. So Pakistan are way ahead when it comes to pace bowling. Who are fastest ballers of the World Cup? Pakistan are miles ahead of other teams also. You have New Zealand at
Yeah,
number
but I
two.
think, I mean, if you think about it, India is still doing well if you look at everyone else. Maybe Pakistan's the only outlier, but Australia, New Zealand, England, South Africa are probably the countries where you expect the most paciest of bowlers. They still, India is not far away from what I'm trying to say. And
No, but
I
there is
also
something
Absolutely.
think
interesting from this chart that you
I
can
think
take away
Harshal
is,
Patel,
yeah.
for example, could be a very good reason why India is so low. I feel
Yeah, not just
Yeah,
Harshal
yeah.
Patel. I think Pakistan are
it's
so
the
high.
average pace,
They
right?
It's
So
the
I think
average pace of
So I think
145.
Harshal Patel, for every ball that Bumrah balls, there'll be a Harshal Patel who will be bowling 120 or 15 kilometers per hour. That's a stock delivery, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I talk about
No, but
Indian
also to
team,
add to
yeah,
that, I feel that India are doing, like, India are still among the pack itself. The outliers are Pakistan. That just says that Pakistan are not using their variations really well. They are just bowling fast. They are not looking at changes of
yeah, that's
pace
another way to look
that
at
much.
things.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's another
Yeah,
way to
yeah.
look at things. Yeah, and I also couple mentions that fast bowling can really decide this World Cup, and I also think fast bowling will decide this World Cup ultimately. But your thoughts, for example, someone like Nathan Ellis in Australia have done extremely well, especially in BBL, and also with the limited opportunity he's gotten to play in Australia, he's done well. Jen, I'll ask you this question because He has always relied on his cutters, his variations. So someone like a Harshal Patel is bound to succeed in Australia, though we say the pitch might not stick. Well, what is Nathan Ellis doing what others are not able to do?
No, I think it's just clever what Nathan Ellis does. He doesn't. First of all, I think he's not someone who's just reliant on cutters. I feel he mixes it up very very well. And what you'll also see is, when it comes to certain ballers, I mean every baller, I feel rather, a baller is inclined to ball a certain particular type of delivery in a certain area. I think there was an analysis that was done of, I think it was Kuldeep Yadav, where you saw a lot of his deliveries predominantly being outside off stump, either googlies or leg spin. So I think that is something that is there. But with Nathan Ellis, you see him ball those full length slower deliveries. You see him ball those on good length or short deliveries. So batsman cannot set it up expecting that, okay, this particular length, if I see the ball coming, it's gonna be a slower delivery. I feel to some extent, I feel this is probably something that I've analyzed. I've expected that, Harshal Patel, I felt, has been a little bit more too predictable in that sense. Batsmen, I feel, have tried to set himself up expecting that good lane delivery to be the slower delivery, and setting themselves up to attack him. And I feel that is somewhere where Harshal Patel really needs to change a few things, maybe keep the batsmen on their toes. And any bowler who does
Yeah.
that, I think, does incredibly well. So if he
Mm,
starts to maybe ball a little bit fuller, or maybe try and ball Yorkers, especially. I think his Yorkers too. I think for me, Harshal Patel, to be fair, he has everything that I feel he needs to do well in Australia. But what is right
Australia.
now going through his head is he's kind of underconfident, because I've seen him ball. He's trying a lot of things, but nothing has been working for him. So I
Even
think
in the
it's time
practice game, he went for plenty of runs. He went to close for 49 odd runs. So it's not looking too good for Harshal Patel at this point because
yeah.
nothing has been really going in his favor. So, Sanjivani, if you were a selector, if you were part of the team management, would you back him at this point, or would you say I'd rather go for a Mohammad Siraj or a Mohammad Shami who's yet to come from India and make a mark in the T20 team?
No, I don't see a dilemma over there. I think Harshal Patel is going to find a place in the first game at least, because the selectors have obviously shown a lot of faith in him, and I think that is going to continue. And it's still, yeah. The thing is that he has been a bit predictable with his pace, especially because batsmen are just waiting for those slower deliveries, and we have 3 to 4 slower deliveries in every over at least. So Harshal Patel has to sort of mix up his pace, or probably sort of get some more variations going in for him, because and also we haven't seen him try that York, like previously Harshal Patel was so effective because the slower Yorker was coming out really well out of his hand. But now when
Yeah.
he tries that slower Yorker, more often than not it ends up being a full toss or a half volley, and there is very little margin of error when you're trying that Yorker. So I think all these things are not going in his favor, but there are still some time. But I'm very impressed by the fact that Arshdeep Singh again managed to pick up 2 wickets in the first over. So it has
Yeah.
been 7 wickets in the last 3 games for him
Yeah,
in the
I
first
think
over
I
itself.
think that's good, encouraging signs for Team India as well to entrust someone like Arshdeep with a new ball and to make him ball there. And he also came back in the back end to give a wicket for Team India as well. So all is looking good for Arshdeep Singh. I think there's no doubt about Arshdeep Singh's starting place in that team. He's been one of the best. But also let's talk about the build-up, right? Because the show is all about the build-up to T20 World Cup. Uh, because let's slightly shift focus to the other end of the Tasmania, it is New Zealand, where there's a tri-series happening and very surprised, I think, because we have a stat which says it's been the slowest and the least bounce ever in New Zealand soil, which we have seen in the longest period of time. And it's not the most ideal preparation for both Pakistan and also for New Zealand because you saw the pitches there. Pitches were holding up quite a bit. The spinners were right in the play, except in the later on in the innings where the dew had come in a heavy range. But otherwise, the pitches were very slow. The bounce was very less, and also the pace of the wicket was lower. That's what the data says. Since 2015, this has been the slowest ever New Zealand has produced in this part of the season. So for Pakistan and for New Zealand, this is not the ideal preparation leading into the World Cup. Jaren, I'll come to you on that.
Yeah, precisely, and I think that's something that we discussed before as well. It was going to be a test for Pakistan of sorts if those pitches are going to be the traditional New Zealand pitches. But the fact that you mentioned, spinners have done incredibly well, and Pakistan's doing very well as well. I mean, New Zealand has made a sort of a comeback where they won their last two matches. I think they won the one today. I mean, the one recently as well. which is good for them. But this is not an ideal prep at all. And now I think the only thing this will do probably is give them all three countries sort of a taste for a multi-nation tournament. But that's it. That's where the preparation will end for them. Aside from that, I think it's good to see to an extent that the New Zealand team has shown character after after having the kind of drubbing that Pakistan team gave them. They've come back strong. They've won the game against Pakistan as well, which is a good thing. But
And they
it's going to
won
be
it quite
interesting now.
convincingly, actually. Although
Yeah,
they
and
lost the
it was
game, but
good to see that some of the youngsters as well doing well. This is a New Zealand team which is sort of into a transition as well
yeah,
with I
yeah.
think Williamson
Yeah,
in
because we've
Saudi.
spoken about a lot of Pakistan. Every show we speak about Pakistan, we speak about India, but we're not quite focused on New Zealand. So let's actually delve into New Zealand. There are a lot of calls which they had to make, especially with Martin Guptill being there, not being there. Now it just looks like Sandeep that Finn Allen is the player who they've entrusted upon to open the batting, and he's not done anything wrong so far with whatever the opportunities he's got. With Devon Conway, who's been consistent as ever, they're slowly building a very good opening pair, and they could probably surprise a lot of teams come the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, New Zealand entering this will enter this World Cup as an underdog for sure, because they are in a very challenging group along with Australia
Yeah, I think
and
this is New Zealand's game. I think sometimes I feel onto the run up of a ICC trophy, they appear to be not doing well, and then all of a sudden everything starts clicking once the first ball is balled in an ICC tournament. They're like the
Yeah,
Shikhar
yeah, that
Dhawans
that
of
is something that New Zealand
they're
have
like
been
the
very
Shikhar Dhawans
consistent
of
with.
ICC tournaments.
But
If Shikhar
also New
Dhawan would have
Zealand have
been
found it very difficult to win ICC tournaments. I mean, they have reached the finals, semifinals, but they have hardly won anything.
no, they're like the
Also,
party poopers, right? They first destroy some favorites' chances to win the team, win the ICC tournament, and then they disappoint their
yeah.
fans as well. That's pretty much the trend that we've been seeing from New Zealand.
yeah, definitely. And also, I think before the 2015 World Cup, New Zealand had never reached a World Cup final, if I'm right.
Yeah.
But then they reached two consecutive World Cup finals, and they have looked a very formidable side. But right now, they this heading into this World Cup, they are going in with a lot of youngsters, a lot of young talents. And I think Finn Allen has been a great revelation, because he has been coming out and giving them those quick runs. Because we know Devon Conway is a very consistent and very aggressive player, but he usually takes some time to get going, like some time to get going, as in he'll give you those 40-50 runs at a strike rate of close to 120 to 130. On a good day, he'll probably give you at a strike rate of over 140. But more often than not, we see Devon Conway scoring at 120 to 130. He's sort of an anchor for them.
But
So
yeah,
you
now
needed.
you have a Devon Conway, but on the other side you have a Kane Williamson who's just having a strike rate of close to just 116 in the last 3 4 years, and is also playing some negative impact innings. So it's not been all positive impact innings from Kane Williamson's end. So that's also a concern. Especially we've been talking about Pakistan, we've been talking about teams who are not ready to take the ante from ball one. But on the other hand, you have in New Zealand who are following a similar batting approach, which actually also led to their downfall in that game against Pakistan, where they were just able to score 140 after having a very decent start, which also put pressure on the middle order.
Yeah, definitely. And I also feel that Kane Williamson right now, we were so busy with Kohli not getting those runs that we missed that another player from the big four, like Root, was very consistent in the test format. Steven Smith was more or less okayish in the shorter formats, and he was doing a good job in the test as well. But slowly and steadily, Kane Williamson's form started to like really go down, and this IPL was a new low for Kane Williamson. Because, and I think when you talk about confidence as well, I am definitely sure that Kane Williamson will not be very confident. He has he has a side to lead, and a young side to lead, and it is never a good feeling to be sort of considered a weak link in a team. And New Zealand, with this New Zealand team, with the youngster side that they have, and the pace at which they go, I think they are starting to, like, Kane Williamson himself will feel that he is the weakest link in that batting lineup, because he's neither getting those runs or nor he's scoring them quickly. So he's getting, even when he's getting those starts, he's scoring 40-45 runs of 30-35 balls, which is okay in the conditions that they're playing right now, because those are slow conditions where Kane Williamson will relish batting, like not relish batting, but he'll be feel more comfortable scoring at a strike rate of 110 pitches in slower pitches. But when we come to Australia, I think Kane Williamson really has to do something. I mean, I don't know what, but he has to change something in his game, because it's starting to be a huge concern for New Zealand, especially because all the youngsters are going so well. Uh,
Hmm.
and and I think New Zealand bowling, if you think about the fast bowling department, I think New Zealand has always been very stable with that fast bowling department. I think their bowling squad is the better suit. The bowling department is the better suit out of the two right now. But also
Yeah.
you have players like Devon Conway, Mitchell in great form, and they are sort of taking the side home in more occasions than not. So New Zealand, all in all, I think they have what it takes to do well. But I think a great revelation for the New Zealand team has been Michael Briswell. Right from the innings that he played against
Ireland.
Ireland, yeah. The game that they won against Ireland, Michael Briswell has been in a purple patch.
Yeah.
Consider it with the bat, with the ball, he has been having those cameos. In some of the games, and with the ball he has been very economical, something which Mitchell Santner used to do really well for the side in multination tournaments. He used to be very economical. Mitchell Santner would never give you, like, he would give you 2 3 wickets, especially against India. Like, Mitchell Santner has a great record against India, but against
Yeah.
other teams, Mitchell Santner was a bowler who would contain runs from one end, and then there was Sodhi, who was entitled to pick up wickets. But and with Bracewell, we can see that he has been very consistent with with his lines. I feel that he'll be a very good test player as well. Uh, and I think that is something very good to see, positive signs for New Zealand. So all in all, they have the side, they have the balance. They have to change a few things here and there, but still they have some time to get over the jitters. And Kane Williamson really needs to score some runs.
Absolutely, and of course for Kane Williamson, it's about time he scores runs, or else it's also going to put a lot of pressure on this team moving ahead in the World Cup, because now they've got an England team who's in very good form. They'll also have to face Australia, then Sri Lanka, who have done decently well in the first warm game against Zimbabwe. Looks like they're also in very good form. Someone like Kushal Mendes played a blinder there. Yet again, they've continued from where they left off in the Asia Cup, so they look very good. Hasaranga giving the finishing touch, so looks
Also,
like
there
a
is
team.
Afghanistan in that team, so I feel it will be very
Afghanistan, I
difficult
don't
for.
see them being the biggest challenges for any of these teams, but for me, of course, it has to be. Definitely has to be Sri Lanka, Australia, and England. Do you really see New Zealand making it to the top two, or even to make it to the semi-final? Jen, I'll come to you for that.
Yeah, I mean, based on current form, I mean, it's I'm very apprehensive about it. But if you look at like if you look at the two teams, right? I mean, if you look at all the teams that are there, I think New Zealand might have a chance, but if so, it's going to be a very sneaky chance. The only way I see it happening is like Australia is definitely going to get through. South Africa is a team which is probably coming off some scars that they'll have to battle, because it's
Yeah.
not been the most ideal prep for them leading up
South
to the
Africa is
tournament.
in the other group. I mean, Australia, England, and Sri
Oh yeah,
Lanka
sorry,
will be
my bad.
in their group. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's South Africa, England, New Zealand,
No,
Sri
no.
Lanka. I mean,
Australia, England, Afghanistan,
yeah,
Sri Lanka.
No, no, not sure if Sri Lanka will qualify or
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
but
But
yeah,
correct, correct.
Afghanistan,
yeah,
Afghanistan, Australia, England, New Zealand are in one group
yeah,
right now.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, that being said, I think it'll take a lot from them to beat this England and Australian team for New Zealand. And also coming to this World Cup, they're coming into this World Cup without a lot of their elite, T20 players. I think they're not going to be having a lot of players who used to be their run getters for once upon a time. Williamson is definitely someone who is struggling a lot. Martin Guptill is not finding himself a spot in this team. So these young guns have to do well. But I think what really goes well for them is the one game that they did not have Williamson in. They went on to score a 208 in that game. I think it was the today's game. I think where they went on to score 208, and that seems like a cause for Williamson not being in this team. Then you all of a sudden are facing the same Williamson's all of a sudden facing the same music that Virat Kohli was facing leading up to the Asia Cup. Where you were like, we don't need Virat Kohli, or Virat Kohli is being a liability. Williamson sort of
Yeah.
coming to that team because Williamson's not been scoring runs at all. He's been scoring at less than 110 strike rate throughout this try series. Even in the
Yeah,
even in the game where he faced only 9 balls, he scored only 9 against a team against a bowling attack which is pretty much done, which is pretty much already had let go of the match by the time he had come into bat. So he's not looking like himself at all, and it seems like he needs too much of time. But one thing that is going well for them, as Sandivani mentioned, is their bowling, and their bowling really will have to step up in Australia. That's one worry because New Zealand has found it very difficult when it comes to their bowling in Australia. They haven't had that kind of ease when it comes to any other part of the world. I think Australia is at one place where they have really struggled when it comes to the bowling. Even places like India, they have somehow managed, but I think Australia is one place. And so that being said, because
And
their
also
bowling is
for
looking
them,
so
the two positive sides will be the middle order, especially Mark Chapman and Glenn Phillips. The
yeah,
way they've been
and I
playing,
think
they've been
also the
very
opening,
positive.
right? I think
Devon Conway is
he's
another. So it's
Devon
just that
Conway's
one
looked.
position. If they have to make a call, they can also go on to say Martin Guptill at number three. He's not done any bad batting at number three so far in the series, and it could
Yeah,
be a
but then I
positive
mean,
call for them.
I think they might just go. They will go with Williamson for two reasons. I think
I
one.
think if he plays, he might be a floater in the team, and not be a number three because they can also use someone like a Mark Chapman at number three, or even Glenn Phillips at number three, depending on the situation. Because if they get a very good start, if they lose an early wicket, definitely Williamson can go in and steady the ship as he's been always. It's consistently he will do that, and that's one assurity you'll get from Williamson. But then one thing which is not good Williamson's way is the way he's not been able to rotate the strike. He's been getting into a shell where he's been getting stuck and which is really impacting the team in a negative way, which we've always highlighted. What we also have, Saloni say Abel and Kane love story. It's not that I don't hate Kane, but I'm a huge fan of Kane, but nothing's been working well for him.
I think it's just this fact that he's not been able to adjust to his. I think his technique after that elbow injury has been something
Yeah,
that has been worrying him. So
yeah,
he is a batsman who is trying to figure out a lot of things. But Kane Williamson is not a bad T20 player at all. I
yeah,
rate him on his day. You remember the IPLs where he changed the Sunrisers Hyderabad batting lineup just because he
yeah.
started to play at
He is
145,
very
150
good. I
strike
think
rate.
it has to do something with the elbow injury because
Yeah,
that's the
I think
only
that
glaring
technique.
thing
I
which I
think
can
he
recall.
he's struggling to change the technique with that elbow injury now, and
Yeah,
it happens to all the great players. I think one great example that comes to my mind is Shane Warne, right? When he had that elbow, I mean the shoulder injury, that
yeah,
affected him a lot. He had to come back. He had to change his action. I think it was his flipper that was really affected by it. So I think
yeah.
these things happen to a player over the course of their career, and Kane Williamson is a champion.
Mm,
Unfortunately, this drought of form has come right leading up to I think not only this T20 World Cup. In the next 4 years, they're going to have four different tournaments, and I think ICC. It's this. I think there was a cup question as well. ICC is trying to liberalize earnings for all their members, and the only way they have found where even Indian team cannot, where BCCI cannot argue, is a ICC tournament. So they're trying to move away from this big three system, try and liberalize earnings. And I think
yeah,
Kane Williamson's form has come at a really bad time
yeah.
for New Zealand because if especially today, I mean, I know it was they scored really well against I think it was Pakistan they faced today, or was it
Mm.
Bangladesh?
No,
It
Bangladesh.
was
Yeah, it was
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, right? And the fact that they faced against Bangladesh, I know it's not the most ideal team because Bangladesh is someone who are absolutely languishing. They don't seem to win a match in this tri series, and but still, the fact that they went on to score 208 shows that this team can do well without Kane Williamson, and that is not something that a champion like Kane Williamson would feel good about. It's a question that now will be
And it's
looming where
only because
management will be
all these
questioning.
youngsters are so aggressive. I mean, Chapman or Glenn Phillips are
Yeah,
very aggressive players. They just come in and they have that sort of the England of post to 2015 World Cup approach, where they just come in and just go after the bowling right from ball one,
correct.
and
It's a modern
it is
approach.
going
It's
to
not England of 2015.
And
It's a
Tim Southee
modern
is a
approach.
very good captain as well. So all of a
a
sudden,
modern approach. Yeah.
there is the only thing that I see Kane Williamson do is being a fielder in this team, and that's a very harsh thing for me to say, for anyone to say against for the player like Kane Williamson, the kind of legacy that he has.
But then
It's not going to be
T20
easy,
cricket
right?
has
And
gotten to a lot of top test players. It's a very demanding format at this point for a lot of classical or pre-modern players because modern game is what I believe from 2015
I
onwards the
think
era
T20
of
has really evolved post the 2018 World Cup. I think
yeah,
many teams have started looking at T20 World Cup after that where teams like India who were slow starters didn't do well in that World Cup. So I think
yeah,
that is something that teams are now starting to look at very seriously. And
yeah,
T20 is going to a very aggressive. I would
Yeah,
say,
very
sort of
aggressive.
baseball sort of game where
Yeah,
you're.
it is
It
going
doesn't
somewhere
matter if
there.
you're getting out as long as you hit it out of the park, and I think that's somewhere
Yeah.
that where cricket is
It's hit or
moving
get
to.
out. It's a very fast moving format. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's a lot of influence of a lot of franchise league across the world. Also T10s having to play a part because there it's just one way, right? Hit or get out. And I think it should be accepted by people as well. So that's where your classical players are finding it difficult because they take slight bit of time, which was acceptable in early 2015, 14s, but now it's not acceptable. Maybe they
Yeah,
might
I
be
mean,
consistent,
before
but
I remember, before players who had 130, 140 strike rate were excellent players of T20 cricket once upon a time.
Yeah.
Players would, I mean, teams would love to have them in their opening three, four.
Having said
Um,
that, because also Tanya has asked us a question of what is India's strongest. But I have a stat over here. I think I've already shared this stat with all of you. Among the players who are featuring in this World Cup, if you talk about the top 10 players with the highest strike rate who are featuring in the World Cup, since 2018 World Cup, you have Matthew Wade who's striking at 183. You have Liam Livingston at number 2 with 181. And you find 5 Indians in there, 4 Indians in there. We have Hardik Pandya striking at 154, Surya Kumar Yadav striking at 151, Virat Kohli 147, Rohit Sharma 139. So among the 10 players, there are 4 Indians. That also speaks volumes,
I
and
mean,
rest are 3
it
England
is very
players.
interesting to see that, Virat Kohli,
That
who
is against
struggled a
balls
lot for
over
the most
140
part.
kilometers per hour, right?
No. 140 kilometers per hour. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Just giving you that context as well. But still, I'm
Yeah.
talking about the World Cup is in Australia, so we have to mention this.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see that Virat Kohli features on that list. He struggled a lot for the most part of 2018 to 2022. I mean,
I
obviously,
think
I
Virat
think
Kohli
That is
it
against
is
spinners,
struggled.
right?
it is
Virat
his
Kohli's
struggles
main
against
struggle
has
has been
been
his strike rate against
his
spin.
his struggle. Yeah, I was coming to exactly that. His struggles has been against spin, but the way, especially towards the end of I think 2020, the way he was just finding ways to get out. It's still nice to see he had something going for him. So it just shows that
Yeah.
Virat Kohli wasn't a terrible player. It was just things were not working out for him.
I think there's another story to it as well.
I mean, Kohli
I
rightly
mean,
summed it
correct.
up when he said
I
that
have
my
to say that.
even my 60s and 50s were considered failures. So
Yeah,
that really summed up
yeah.
what was happening to
Yeah.
Kohli. I mean, we were not getting that century, and then he was scoring at an Kohli has been scoring at
Yeah,
an average of
he was
over
having
50
an
in
average of
T20
50 in
internationals for 5
T20.
years now.
Yeah.
In all three
Yeah.
formats. So it's
Yeah. I
No,
mean,
incredible.
test.
that's
I mean, he
another
has
thing.
dropped down below
And
50 in test, but still in ODI
yeah,
and
he's dropped down to
T20
50
is
from 53, but still, if you talk about Virat Kohli, for the last 2 years, he's been the leading run scorer for India in one day cricket and also in T20 internationals, though his form was very bad. So, that also speaks volumes of still he's been the carrier for Team India. It's
Yeah,
good to
it's
see him
almost
back.
like I mean, I'm not trying to draw comparisons here, but Bradman's worst series was the Bodyline series, right? And he had an average of 53. So it was, and
Yeah,
everyone was saying that Bradman's threat has been quelled of sorts. English newspapers were flying with headlines, and he still had an average of 53. So it just shows great players
yeah,
do, I
that's
think.
because of standards these players set. But then
Yeah.
also we speak about 2 players of England in these strike rates. Liam Livingston has a strike rate of 181 and Butler at 172. It's quite high, and Alex Hales at 148. So it speaks volumes of what English team
And
can
you have to
possibly
look at the
operate about.
approach with which Butler comes into bat. When you see Butler coming into open the innings for England, if I am in the opposition camp, I will be very terrified because he just takes on the ball from ball one, and against bowlers like Hazelwood, Pat Cummins, they're steaming in Stark, they're steaming in, and Butler is just scooping them over fine leg, trying to hit them
Yeah.
straight down the ground.
I mean,
It's so
that's
demoralizing
why
for a
that's why
bowler.
England are a strong contenders for the World Cup, and there is no doubt why they
Definitely.
might be even the favorites to go on to win the World Cup. But SS98 is a question because I already asked a question twice now. Can India go with Ashwin, Harshal, Hardik, Bhuvi, Shami, and Harshdeep and Chahal? And Aksar might be an easier option for South African left-handers to tackle. So he's given us a lot of options there.
I think what
I
he's trying to say is
personally,
Chehel and Aksa might not be the best options, right? And then that's what he's trying to say. I think these
yeah,
players, I
Yeah.
think
say
Ashwin,
go with
Harshal,
a
and
player who can take the ball away from the South African. So that's the whole point. Because the South African left hand like David Miller, they have Riley Russo there, they have Quinton de Kock. You saw in Washington, so that's troubled them quite a bit in this series, which just got over in one day series with his off spinning, ball taking away, trying to bring the ball in. So they were put in a little bit of trouble. And also Kuldeep Yadav was taking the ball away from them. That's why Kuldeep Yadav has
hmm.
been the nemesis for South Africa since 2018 as well. So South Africa has got a problem with spinners taking the ball away from them. So can Ashwin walk into that game as tactical replacement for Chahal?
Definitely. I feel Ashwin, and
So,
also with the current form that Chahal is in. Chahal is not in the best of forms with the ball, and he's not very confident with the ball. That is more concerning. You may be going for 40 45 runs in 4 overs. consistently, but you have to have that intent to pick up wickets. For Chahal right now, I think he tries for one over, and if he thinks that the pitch is not offering him much, then he bowls that defensive line. He continues to bowl way outside off stump, or
Yeah.
bowls it fast, and does not give it enough air. Something that currently Adil Rashid has been really struggling with, because today in not just today, Adil Rashid's performance even in Pakistan was very below par. And even in today's game, I we could see that okay, he was traveling for runs, but he was not bowling. He was not trying to flight the ball. Adil Rashid has always been very effective when he's tried to flight the ball, beat the batsman in the air. But today he was just trying to bowl it flat, and eventually he was ending up bowling
Yeah, I
short
think,
pitch
and that
deliveries.
also shows the kind of confidence Adil Rashid is having in his
I
abilities.
mean,
Yeah,
whatever news we've got from that warm-up game, Chahal was one of the best performers. He was trying to flight the ball. He was there drifting the ball. I think
yeah, but still,
Australian
I
pitches
would.
does suit Chahal a lot
Yeah,
more.
see, I'll play Chahal against Pakistan definitely, because Chahal, Pakistan players, and Chahal in Australia is a different love story altogether, because he comes in as a concussion substitute and picks up 3 wickets, picks up the man of the match. That's a different thing altogether. But I would definitely use Ashwin as a tactical substitute, in the, not tactical substitute, but a
Tactical
tactical.
option.
Yeah, tactical option in the. I'm just got carried away with Ritik Shawkin
Yeah,
coming in
Ritik
as an
shocking.
impact
Yeah,
player.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it did work out.
So
I think we'll talk about it in brief as well because Syed
yeah,
Mustaqil
it
Trophy
worked out
won to
great.
Ritik. I mean, it's been a great day for Ritik Shawkin. He came in, picked up 2 wickets as a tactical substitute. So
Went
looks
for
like this
13 in three
particular
overs.
I mean, looks like this particular call is working for a lot of teams. It's the first tactical substitute in Indian history so far inside Mustaqil Trophy. And some teams have gotten off to really good flyers, especially Mumbai team, Yashasvi Jaiswal and Prithvi Shaw carrying out from where they left off. On the other hand, Kerala defeated Karnataka, so there's a big win for them. Azharuddin scored 95. Devda Patikal scored 100 yesterday. Ruturaj Gaikwad scored 100 today. So a lot of good things, a lot of players who
No, no,
just left the
just
Indian
to
camp.
complete that point, when I look at the squad, I think when India is going to play South Africa, I would probably replace Akshar Patel with Ashwin, because I feel with Harshal Patel, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, and Mohammad Shami coming in at 7, 8, and 9, we have not 7, 8, and 9, but 8, 9, and 10. We will have enough depth in that batting order,
But
because Shami
remember,
can.
Sandeep, bhai, that match is going to be played in Perth in Optus Stadium, which is going to be a nightmare for spinners. And you saw it in the last game as well. The ball doesn't turn at all over there. Whatever you're going to get something out of the fast balls in Optus. So you want to
Yeah,
have an extra pacer. And that's where we'll go to this particular point, which Aditya Agarwal has raised over here. Shami was not balled at all for the last 6 months. And you have a Siraj who's coming from out of the series performance against South Africa. And let me point out some stats of this. In death overs in one-day cricket since the IPL 2022, he's balled 10 overs, given just 65 runs, picked up 3 wickets, balling from over 45 to 50 over there. And also the over which he bowled against South Africa in Indore, which is a high-scoring ground, is 17th and 18th over, just went for 14 runs. So which means he's balled very tight spells in the death for Team India. He's not given any runs. And that's one area India have been struggling with. And he's a bowler in very good rhythm and confidence. So, Jaren, I'll come to you and I'll come to Sandeepani on this. As Aditya also has written a question, who would you have now with Harshal Patel, having a very bad confidence, hit or a dent from the warm-up game and also from the build-up to this World Cup? Would you have a Siraj or a Mohammad Shami flying into your squad?
Oh, it's going to be a tough call. But I think for me, it'll be Siraj. And I'll tell you the reason. I think it's twofold, basically. One, that Shami has not played T20 cricket for India for quite some time. And more specifically speaking, he hasn't played T20 cricket leading up to the length of the series. Or he hasn't played any cricket, rather, for leading up to the series. Well, Siraj, on the other hand, is riding off. It's just looking spectacular, right? He's looking like a lad who is in confidence. And I think Siraj, when he is at the top of his confidence, I think that is when Siraj is the most scariest. And I've seen him steamroll teams, when he is that confident. And I feel, especially against these South African teams, I know the pitches are not something what you'll see in Australia, but that just makes me feel even more. The fact that these pitches in India, I mean, I think except for the one in Lucknow, I think it was Lucknow where the first ODI was
Yeah,
played.
yeah, yeah.
Except for that pitch, it has not been very helpful for the fast bowlers. But still, Siraj has bowled exceptionally well, and against this South African team, which is basically then their best 11.
This is going to be the
I mean,
same team they're going to face in the World Cup. This is the exact
yeah, it's the
same team.
same team. It's almost the same team, right? Except for I think the third ODI where you did not
Except for
have.
Yanim and Malan, you will have a Temba
I think
Bavuma. Who
you did not have Temba Bauma and Maharaj playing either of
But
the
you
two
know, they
matches.
have
But except for
Temba
that,
Bavuma is not a concern for Team India at this point. So
yeah,
other than that,
and I think it's a concern for South Africa for this
It's a
point in
blessing
time.
in disguise for Team India.
But the fact that Siraj is doing so well and he's in form, and Shami has not played at all, and that's my first reason. And second reason being, Shami is not going to be balling in the death overs at all, and India's concern
yeah,
right now is the 19th over.
yeah,
And
exactly.
if you have a toss up between Shami and Siraj, and if I was a captain, I would throw the ball to Siraj because
Yeah,
I've seen Shami go for plenty of runs in the
yeah.
last 2 overs.
I
Because
mean, that's what's been
once the ball,
surprising. That's been very surprising to me as well. A lot of people voting for Shami. I know he's a very good bowler, but remember his stats and death are horrifying. 11 runs per
yeah.
over is what he's going in the death in T20 internationals. And remember the last T20 match which he played was in the last World Cup. He's not played any T20 internationals for Team India.
But
And
Abel,
for
in
Gujarat
general,
Titans,
Shami has an economy of over 9.5 in
yeah,
T20 internationals
that's a
because
very
he's not
rich
given the
stat,
opportunities,
shocking
right?
stat.
That's my problem. That's my
No, I
issue
think
with the Indian
I
selectors
think
not
something
picking
like
up
that's
Shami
not
for
fair to say he's not been given the opportunities. I think he did not just, I think
Make a
compared to the other
claim
ballers that we
for
have had,
one
he
thing
No,
has
with
no, no,
Bumrah, he
no.
performed.
didn't.
I
That's
think
true.
in T20
And
internationals they could have definitely
even in
tried
the
Shami earlier on. Like
I
if
mean, they
you
should have. That's my
yeah,
point as well. If they're
if you
not
have
try
to fly
Shami
in
then,
somebody like a my point
yeah,
being, if
but
you have to
I
fly
think
in somebody
the
like a
reason
Mohammad
for
Shami
that
last
being,
minute,
I think
then
Shami
why
was
did you
never
give
in.
Umesh Yadav a rope in the series against South Africa? Then probably draft in Umesh Yadav ahead of Shami because Shami is
yeah.
coming up from
Well,
an injury as well from
I
COVID.
think, yeah, it makes sense. But at the same time, as Jaren also mentioned over here, someone like a Mohammad Shami doesn't give me a surety in the death, and India's problem has been the death overs. So there, you would rather go for someone like and you have
And
Arshdeep
I
Singh who's
think
doing
you
really
have
good as
Bhuvneshwar
well.
Kumar to do the job that Shami would do regardless, right? And
Yeah,
But
the ball has been doing a
for me,
bit.
I don't think either Mohammad Siraj or Mohammad Shami will find a place in the first game because I see India
No,
going
I
ahead
think
with
they might
Bhuvneshwar
not
Kumar
play a
as
lot
the
of games unless the players that we have talked about, Arshdeep Singh, Harshal Patel, and Bhuvneshwar Kumar. All three of them, either one of them should have a horrifying start, and India should really find themselves in a need of a
I think
bowler,
you know what,
and
Jaren.
that's the only way
As
you would
Sanjay
see.
mentioned, Harshal Patel might find a place in the first 11. It also depends on this game. Tomorrow's game against Western Australia and the two home games against Australia and New Zealand will give India a better chance because
Yeah,
you
I
don't
think
want to go into that Pakistan game with an underconfident Harshal Patel. Rather than that, you go with a confident Mohammad Siraj who's been flying high, whose rhythm is looking very good, and that's what will give India a better chance because you did that mistake last year in the World Cup where you went into a World Cup with an underconfident Bhuvneshwar Kumar and did not give you anything in return as well. Aisha, we did speak about the tri series already, and we will touch upon it before we end the live as well. But we did already speak, so if we can, rewind the video and go back, you can already hear about tri series and what we had to analyze. But yeah, as SS 1998 has spoken with Tilak Verma, yeah, Tilak Verma played two brilliant knocks, two scores of in excess of 50 plus, walking in at 0 for 2 and 2 for 23 for Hyderabad. So he's also vice captain of the team. So pretty interesting that he's given this responsibility at such a young age and he's been doing it pretty well. And Shaheen Shafri is back in the nets. That's a good news for Pakistan team, and they're really missing him at this point as a bowler.
yeah.
But I think Pakistan's concerns are in the middle order. It's totally non-existential at this point. Sanimani, I think we'll have to talk about Pakistan's middle order once again. Uh,
there's nothing to talk about. They don't have
I
a
think
middle order at the moment.
it's been a case which we have been having right now. Uh, Last match against New Zealand, when they were put to bat first, I know Pakistan a very good team chasing for a score below 150 or 160, but yet again, that's not their test, right?
And
Their
these
test is
are
going to be when
conditions that you expect in subcontinent as well. The conditions
yeah.
that they are
Yeah,
facing in
conditions
New
are
Zealand.
totally similar like subcontinent in New Zealand. As I mentioned already, this is the slowest wickets in New Zealand in history. And now talking about Pakistan team, zero sixes hit in that game against New Zealand. A concern for you, Sandivani, because that's an alarming stat. Zero sixes hit. Asif Ali played a run ball 25. Iftikhar played a run ball 20. Then you had Bamar and Rizwan got off to a very slow start there again. I know he scored a 17. Everybody went, gango over that. But then that's not a good sign for Pakistan leading into that tournament.
See, right now heading into the ICC World Cup, any runs that Babar Azam or Mohammad Rizwan scores, it's good for the team. But I will not take into account that because I'm expecting somebody like a Babar Azam or Mohammad Rizwan to come good when it matters in the T20 World Cup. But right now, I would expect my middle order to perform, at least show some glimmers of hope, which we haven't seen right now. Because it's simple that who Shoaib Maksud, Shoaib Maksud could have. I mean, they can
Shan,
even. Yeah,
yeah,
Shan Maksud. Shan Masood. They had somebody like a Shoaib Maksud playing in the 2016 T20 World Cup.
yeah.
Pakistan team has experimented with lots and lots of. You see, every T20 World Cup, you see a new Pakistani batting lineup, and I think that has not helped them.
Yeah,
Since last
I
year,
mean,
they have
it's good that
brought
they
out.
have such a good stable opening, but then the reason why they're playing slow is also because of the fact that there's nobody to follow in the middle order. It just looks like a huge hole for them, and that's a major concern. I'll go to this question as well, Jaren, because we've been talking about Pakistan, but I don't really see Shardul Thakur replacing Harshal Patel. Shardul Thakur has gone there as a backup for Harshal Patel and Bhuvaneswar
Yeah.
Kumar in case there's an injury there, but other than
I
that,
think Shardul Thakur
because
will be a reserve. Like he'll
reserve, he's going to be a
go and
reserve because
occupy the
Deepak Chair
spot
is
of
not going.
Deepak Charia.
Deepak Shah is not going. And yeah, Aditya, I'll take your question right now. Don't you think India had done a blunder by giving enough shots to Avesh Khan? Do you guys think, especially Jaren, we've been talking about Avesh Khan and his confidence, getting back into the fore, but he's not also really capitalized on the chances of whatever he's got. India were relying on him to be one of the backup for Bumrah, and that's the reason why he got the opportunity in the Asia Cup as well. But then he's not really played the dividends. Even in the one day series, you saw that he's not really there and thereabouts, especially he's low on confidence. Do you think India did a blunder there? India should have really tried out someone like Siraj over there or someone who could have possibly, even Mohammad Shami. They're not even trying Mohammad Shami there.
I think it's I won't be too harsh on the selectors. I think Avesh Khan, when he was put into the Indian team, he was one of the most brightest fast bowlers coming out of the IPL. He was doing very well for himself. And I think what Indian selectors did is give a young guy a long rope, because I think if he had been removed any earlier, we would all be sitting here and criticizing the fact that he was a youngster and he was not given that kind of rope. And I think it was unfortunate for Indian selectors that did not go well. They tried the best to make him work, and I think Rohit Sharma and the management believed he had the skill set to do well. It's just, and I think if I ask anyone, I think it's inexplicable, how bad or how it has not worked out for him. And I believe he could be that middle order enforcer. I think he's just not. Again, he's one of those ballers for India is not in confidence, right? You see him on the field, and it looks like right now at least he's miserable bowling. It's very harsh of me to say that, but it just doesn't look like anything's clicking for him. That being said, I think it's a conundrum I feel for the selectors, right? When they're ready to try Shami, I really don't think Shami was in contention for the World Cup at all. It's just the fact that Bumrah got injured at the wrong time, and then they had to find someone.
But
Then
then my
Avesh Khan
question,
was not doing
sorry,
well.
Jaden, but my question is, if you are not considering somebody like a Shami for the World Cup, then why finally at the last moment
Yeah,
why you have
that's
to
a
fly
point.
him
That's what
in?
I'm coming to.
Because
I
there
think
is Umesh Yadav waiting.
their
Umesh
idea
Yadav
was
was picking up
so
wickets.
their so what I believe is their idea was that Bumrah will be the player that will go through, and Avesh Khan will be the replacement. But then Bumrah gets injured for most part of the season, and Avesh Khan is doing really bad, so he's again out of contention. Then the player that you have, so then the selectors had to
See,
rush in
yeah,
and find
I
someone.
also
And
think there's a
I
lot of
think their idea
pressure on
was
the selectors because of the Asia Cup loss. They had to go back to
yeah.
Shami. After the Asia Cup loss, everyone were like,
And
the
when
commentators.
it finally they were forced of sorts to go to Shami, and when they had to go to Shami, Shami got the unfortunate COVID bout, and then they had to find someone who had done. I think this is probably the fourth or fifth selection, right? That is Umesh Yadav.
I think Prasad Krishna is injured, so that's the reason he's not there also in the selection. So India have a lot of issues, especially when it comes to fitness. Either it's injury or either it's out of form. There is
No, I
no
mean, if,
middle
if
ground
you
for
guys
Team
don't
India.
mind, I'll take the question of, I'll take the discussion back to Pakistan as well.
Yeah.
What I had to say was I was just going over the stats for the last 10 years or so. Iftikhar Ahmed, for the three matches that he's played, he's got quite a healthy average. He's got an average of 108, it seems, in T20 cricket for a strike rate of 150, which is really good. And the only one who comes close to him is Babar Azam, 57. I mean, for players who are playing right now, he's got an average of 57 and a strike rate of 138, which is like classic Babar Azam. I think Iftikhar is probably the one player now they'll be hoping he replicates the kind of form that he's shown in
Yeah.
Australia. But then how
And
much can
I
he
also
do
have a
it is a
stat over there
question.
that Iftikhar's strike
See,
rate was a pace is 155, but his strike rate was a spin is just 104. So that's
yeah.
also a saying
Yeah, but then I
stat that
think,
the
in
team is not
Australia,
getting
I
there.
think that won't be much of an issue because I don't think teams are coming in with a lot of spin contingent. I think Expo maybe, from the top of my head, I think India, Australia,
But one thing
Pakistan,
with Iftikhar
obviously.
that Iftikhar
With
will
all
provide is the 2-3 overs with the ball as well. I mean, they have been trusting Iftikhar as their sixth bowling
yeah, but I
option.
think in Australia they might not go to him. I think he will
Yeah.
They
struggle in
don't have any
Australia. He isn't
other.
as
They don't
skillful.
have
It
any other
also
six bowling option,
depends
right?
on the situation and the matchup. If they have a left-hander who's there, and they can't
I
go to
mean, yeah,
Shadab
but
or a
then
Nawaz. They'll go to
for
Iftikhar.
me, I think if I mean I don't really think Iftikhar. I mean that's just my opinion. I think Iftikhar isn't the ideal bowler to a left-hander, and I think the reason for that is because the way he balls to a left-hander, he keeps bringing the ball into the
I,
stumps a
I,
lot.
I
He
also will
doesn't
make a
turn the ball at all, and I
bold
think
call
and
over here.
yeah.
Especially against India, they are going to go with less left arm, slow left arm option. But that's where I think Rishabh Pant might play in that first game against Pakistan. I think I'm just having it's a tactical call, but I have a feeling that Rishabh Pant might start for the first game against Pakistan. He might bat number 5, number 6, but he might play the first game because of that slow left arm bowler and leg spin option they've got. The Pakistanis have got. I know it might be a blunder as well, but just a matchup. If they're left, I know it's Australian conditions, this and that, but if at all, if they want to take the ball away and if they want to really restrict the Indian batters, they've got an option with you know so many right-handers in the top 7, and always they have to send someone like Akshar Patel as an enforcer at number 5.
But I don't honestly I don't see Rishabh Pant playing in the first game. Only because yeah, if you want a left-hander in the top 7, I think they are going to send in Akshar Patel as an enforcer because they don't have any other option. Because whom are you going to drop? You can't drop Dinesh Karthik with the form that he is in right now. You can't really actually drop KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma because they have been trying to give you those starts, those quick fire
And yeah,
starts.
I also think they kind of. I mean, I think the best word to use is sort of tired of Rishabh Pant's bad performances in T20 cricket. I think they've tried him the best. At least for me right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
I think the management believes he's more of a opener or top three batsman. I think that's where
And I
Rishabh Pant is
also
Yeah,
getting.
he's
think
a replacement
I
opener.
also think after this T20 World Cup, he might be dropped from the T20 squad. With Sanju Samson making a
No,
case for himself.
I think he will not be dropped, Abel. I think
No,
he'll
but I
become a
think he will
second
have
team
to
player.
redefine his game because now he'll
I
be
think
used
he'll
as an
become a
opener.
player who will, and I think you'll see this happening in the IPL also. You might see this happening in the IPL also. He might become an opener of sorts. Play the kind of role that Cam Green is playing. Just come up and whack,
But
and that's probably what you'll see
last match
Rishabh Pant doing.
he got two opportunities as opener for Team India, and in the warm up game. Last match in the warm up game, he played 9 runs of 17 balls, which is not a good statement.
I mean, he
I
played
think
it.
he's still trying to figure out the T20 game. He's really confused at this point. Maybe it's also good to take a break from the format. Just don't get much into it because you've been doing great in Test in one day, and you have a lot of wicket keeping options in India. They've not done any bad. Ishan Krishna has been playing very good. Sanju Samson for that is making a statement for himself there as well.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of wicket keeping options who are making a statement for themselves. So
And
I
also,
won't be
right now,
surprised
I
if he
feel
gets
the
dropped.
Indian team, the at least the batting suit is very like settled right now. Touchwood, because I don't see them changing too much because they can go with KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, and then Dinesh Karthik can come in, and we can also have Akshar Patel, Harshal Patel at number 7, 8, coming in and slogging.
Yeah, Aisha wants to trade off over here. She says Indian Shaheen or Naseem lo le lo. Middle order में हमें Pandya और Sky. I will take Shaheen though. But the injury India is going through, I'll take Shaheen. India needs a left arm quick.
I mean,
I think
imagine.
Ashwin.
I would just imagine
But I'm not
Bhuvneshwar
ready
Kumar
to
and
trade Sky for
Shaheen.
anyone in the world. As Aditya also says, and I totally agree with Dale Steyn over here, he's a world number 1 T20 batter by miles right now.
Yeah, yeah,
I think someone who
absolutely,
comes close to him,
absolutely.
Butler is the only one who comes close to him. But to be very fair, Sky is right up there. So I wouldn't trade Sky for
And
anybody.
also, if you talk about consistency, I also feel Rizwan is somewhere close enough, but also you have to understand that Surya Kumar Yadav is very consistent, scoring runs at a great strike rate. Surya Kumar has the like one of the best strike rates in T20 cricket right now.
Yeah.
And then Mohammad Rizwan is plays a different sort of a role. He has been very dominant. He has been very consistent. Scores 50s,
But I
60s.
mean, Rizwan also doesn't have very good stat. I think he only played one series in Australia. He's not done well in that series.
Yeah, but that
Uh,
time he
and
was not in the reckoning because
yeah,
the Rizwan
fair
that we
enough.
are
But I
seeing
think
is
Rizwan is a
Rizwan
much
2.0.
different player.
He
Yeah.
was
This
dropped
is a
But
from the
2019 series.
I
Yeah.
have a feeling I'm just I don't want to be like putting any some kind of a curse on Mohammad Rizwan, but whatever I've seen of Mohammad Rizwan, he's got a game to succeed in Australia, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a case for him getting out, top edging one of those balls to the boundary because the boundaries are going to
I
be bigger,
mean,
and he
it
plays a
And
lot
is.
of
short
off bat
deliveries
and
is going
short.
to be a huge concern for Pakistan in general because we also saw that stats where Pakistan were not doing really well with short pitch stuff. And I think in the recent past
I'm
in the
very
Asia
eager to
Cup,
watch that
in some
warm
of the
up game,
slower
England
pitches
versus
in England
Pakistan on
in Pakistan
17.
as well, they have
Yeah,
struggled.
England versus Pakistan on 17 at the Gabba will be one game I'm looking for because their next game against Afghanistan, where there will not be a lot of threat. If Mark Wood is going to play and if Chris Jordan is going to play, how will Pakistan go in that quick pace wicket in Gabba? That's going to be an interesting side because the first game they will be played between India and Australia. Then the second game on the same ground will be played between Pakistan and England. So that's where it's going to be an interesting thing to see where Pakistan is going to lead up. But before that, let's talk about. I think we've had enough of India and Pakistan. That's been the majority of the life. But let's also shift our focus to Team England because we spoke about them in brief. If someone like a Liam Livingston has to walk into this team, would you see someone like a Harry Brook making way for Liam Livingston in this squad, Jaren?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yes, because Liam Livingston is someone who's proved himself much more on the world stage. He also comes in with a handy leg spin, and he's very experienced in the BBL. He's one of the darlings of Perth Scorchers for a long time. So I think all of this put in perspective, he just walks into any T20 team right now. The way he's batting, the way he's playing all around the world, I think, and he's gonna hit a long mile. Even if you have boundaries which are 100 meters long, I think Liam Livingston's probably one of the only batsmen in the world who can probably clear those boundaries. And he can hit a ball. He might even hit I think one of these days you might see him hit a ball from Sydney to London. And that's the way he bats, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he has to walk in. Harry Brooks, unfortunately, will not be playing, I feel. You'll
Or do you
probably
see
see him.
a walk in for Sam Curran, though had very good time with the ball? There's another option
No,
where Liam Livingston.
I don't know. I think that'll be just trading a batsman for a bowler who can still bat a bit, right? Harry Brooks will
Mhm.
have to be someone who can still give you those 2 overs if Sam Curran has to be out of the team. And Sam Curran has played really well in this series so far.
Yeah, that's
He's
what.
done very well. So he's also someone who's high on confidence. Another player I feel when Sam Curran is confident, right? He's one of the best players in the world. I mean, at least not if in the world, but I would say at least he would make into any team. And when he's in confidence, that this is me and my Chennai bias, but I really think he's one of the most underrated players because he's been doing really well for England over the years. Unfortunately, he's been in and out of the team, and now I think he's finally making a niche for himself. And I would be saying it would be harsh for us for anyone to drop him for Harry Brooks. So I think it's unfortunate for Harry Brooks, but for me at least in my 11, he wouldn't feature.
Either way, with David Malan's form.
I would probably drop Adil Rashid. I will have Liam
Oh,
Livingston at number 7. I can
Yeah.
have like Liam Livingston will also give me an extra bowling option as well, spin bowling option. You also have Moeen Ali in the mix, so you can have
That's a
Sam
massive
Curran, you
call
can
there.
have Chris
yeah, but
Jordan, you
then
can have Reece Topley.
would you still drop Adil Rashid, who's a
No,
specialized spin bowler,
but you
and
have to okay,
bank
not
on Moeen
even if
Ali
not.
and Liam Livingston? I mean,
Yeah,
my,
I
my
get your point.
point being, Sandimani, I mean, it's is it going to be like we thought of the same thing, right? When we dropped, I think when we dropped Avish Khan, I don't remember who it was when we dropped one of the fast bowlers for Hardik Pandya and gave him that fast bowling role, and suddenly Hardik Pandya struggled, right?
No,
Same could
but
happen to Liam Livingston and
India
Moeen
did
Ali.
not have any other option. Like India had to go to Hardik Pandya because they did not have a six bowling option. But when you consider this England team, there is Ben Stokes, there is Moeen Ali as the six,
Yeah.
seven bowling option. They already
They've
have
got
seven
enough.
bowling options.
They've got close to 8 bowling options walking into the
Yeah,
park every time they field. So
yeah,
Adil Rashid,
definitely.
if
And
he's
so
not
I
taking a
feel
wickets, I really don't see him as a utility player. And also with Liam Livingston coming into the team, offering both off break and leg break, he becomes much
yeah.
of a utility player. So
Not just because of that. Also, I feel whenever Liam Livingston was playing for England, he was coming in at number 7 for them. So right now, I see this lineup for England. I see Alex Hills and Butler
You know what? I mean,
opening.
actually going over the stats, I just found out that Adil Rashid apparently has an average of 71 in Australia. In the four
Yeah,
matches that he's played, I mean,
so
three of them
that's
have been
also
this
a telling
series.
stat. So that's a very
and
Just
he
telling
looks
three
shattered.
of these
He
matches. I
looks
mean, the two
shattered right
matches that
now.
he's played is this series. But that still being said, 71 is a very bad average.
And
Yeah,
especially because you have options, right? You have two
yeah.
spin bowling options in the form of Liam Livingston, Moeen Ali. You have plenty of pace bowling options. I see this team as Alex as Butler will open. There will be David Malan at 3. At 4, you have Ben Stokes. At 5, you can have Harry Brooks. You can have Moeen Ali at number 6. At number 7, Liam Livingston steps in like he was playing in England against Pakistan.
Then you have the
At
four
number
fast
8,
bowlers.
9, 10, 11, you can have Sam Curran, Reece
And yeah,
Topley,
I mean,
Chris
Sam
Jordan,
Curran
and Mark Wood.
I
Curran
don't see
shouldn't be
both
dropped at
Wokes
all. I mean,
and Willie making to this team. Yeah, I
same
don't see
table that I
Wokes or
see,
Willie.
Sam Curran has an incredible average of 12 in Australia. I mean, in Australia, and he's among the current players, he has the best
Yeah.
average. So
And let's not talk. Last 2 games he's won single-handedly bowling in the death overs for England. So there's something they see of him. And also on the other hand, Chris Jordan has gone for 10 runs per over in the death overs. Though he's picked up 18 wickets, but still, there's 10 runs per over in the death overs. Maybe one day you'll take it, another day you won't. Chris Wokes and David Willey are two people who might miss out, but I'd still like to see Wokes coming into the team instead of Chris Jordan. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
See, I don't see Sam
Yeah, good.
Curran or I don't see Sam Curran or Mark Wood being dropped. So at like two of the fast bowlers will be Sam Curran and Mark Wood. The other two in question, you can try somebody like a Reece Topley. If you want to play Reece Topley, I don't see Chris Wokes playing because they are similar sort of opening bowlers, more of an opening bowler than a death over bowler. So if you have to drop somebody like a Reece Topley, then Chris Wokes comes in, or
But
probably
you
a
know
David
what?
Will comes in.
I still think England might not take that gamble right now. They
Yeah, yeah,
are
yeah. I think
totally
Reece
backing
Topley has been doing a good job for them.
Adil Rashid, so they're totally backing Adil Rashid. So it's more likely going to be Liam Livingston walking instead of Harry Brooks at number 5. And also Aditya says that Liam Livingston number 6, number 7 will be a detrimental call. So more likely or not, I also am a big fan of Liam Livingston batting in top 5 instead of batting in number 6,
No,
number
I'm
7.
I'm also a fan of Liam Livingston batting in the top five, but England have used Liam Livingston at number 7 in the recent series
Yeah, but then
against
I mean,
Pakistan.
also you have to realize that when you say Liam Livingston comes at number 7, he's not going to play every match number 7, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
going to
because
see
the
this England
England
batting
team is
lineup.
very, very flexible. They
This
can
England
have
lineup,
Liam Livingston at
yeah,
5 and then
precisely. So
demote
that is
Harry
just
Brooks.
I think after the, I honestly, I'll be very honest. I think this England lineup, you won't see anyone bat anywhere regularly. I think you might see a lot of changes here and there based on matchups. And England is a team which has got the flexibility to do it.
Probably the
That is
top
one
three
reason.
will not change. I think Alex Hells,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, till
you
Malan
never
it's
know,
fixed.
right? You never know. Maybe England, if England sees a threat, it's not like it's beyond England. I'm not saying it's gonna happen every match,
Yeah,
and I'm
definitely,
not saying
definitely.
England is going to do it. But I'm just saying England have the luxury to do it. So you're not gonna see Liam Livingston at number 6, number 7 a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the reason where I also feel that you never know with Team England. They've got the flexibility. They've got enough firepower in terms of whoever they want. Who will India prefer to play in the semi-final? I mean, my man has already made a point that India making it to the semi-final. So, so they avoid would like. I mean, if you were Team India and if you have already won enough from your group, who would you play? I would rather play in Australia or England. I don't mind anybody. I'd rather play the
I'll be
hosts
honest.
in
I
the
think
semi-final.
based on form, you might want to play Australia because, and this is not something I'm saying Australia is out of form. It's just England is doing much better, and Australia seem to lack. I think in the bowling department, I feel they don't have a death bowler right now. I think their best
See,
death bowler right now is
I'd
Josh
just like to make
Hazelwood.
a clarification. There is no way Australia, England, and New Zealand can make it to the semi-final. But two of them can make it because they're
No,
on
I think
one
I
go.
think the question basically is, if they could decide, it's not about
Yeah,
schematics, right? It's about
yeah,
any of these three. It is not that all three of them will make the finals. So I think semi-finals. I think that's probably the question he's asking, right? If
yeah.
they could, but I
I
think
don't
I,
see
I
Australia
would
right
many
I
now,
would
right? I
I
think,
would
odds on
want
the
India
same.
to play Australia because they have beaten Australia 2007 semi-finals, went
and
on
I
to win
think if
the
you
T20
more
World Cup,
often than
beaten
not, if you
Australia
beat Australia in an
2011
ICC tournament, you win that
2011 World
tournament.
Cup quarterfinals, went on to win the World Cup. And if they are not good enough to beat Australia at their home in the semifinals, they don't deserve to win. Like we saw
But I
in
think
I
if
mean,
2015
you
we
beat
World Cup.
lost in the
Australia, you win the
2015
World Cup.
semi-finals as well.
Yeah,
Win
yeah,
the
yeah.
win,
So
win
they
the
were not good
tournament.
enough to win that time. They were playing Ireland and Zimbabwe and qualifying to the semifinals. Yeah, so
Bangladesh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this again and again. I've been repeating it thrice when Sandeep Ali was speaking. If you win against Australia, you win the tournament. I
Yeah.
think that's the golden rule.
Yeah, it actually is. It actually is, and that's why you don't mind playing Australia in the semi-final because in final in Melbourne you never know. You know what has happened in the finals in Melbourne when you play against Australia, especially New
I
Zealand.
think you don't
They have a
want to
better
play
pace.
Australia in any knockout match. Chances are Australia always bring their A game in a knockout tournament. They just built that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And for example, I remember the last knockout where they're playing against Pakistan in the semi-final of the World Cup. Nobody gave Australia the chance. Pakistan were the strong favorites leading into that game because they were playing in the UAE conditions. But Australia just brought their A game, and from there they never looked back. They went on to win the World Cup in quite a fashion. And the final was totally a one-sided game as well. So that's where Australia are the most dangerous team. You give Australia that sniff, and don't be even surprised if it's an England-Australia final. So uh,
Yeah.
I know it could hurt a lot of Indian fans and subcontinental fans, but there is a high chance of that happening. I know they'll come from the same group, but Sandeep says no.
I think
But
that Sandivani is one of those Asian fans. Will be really hurt if that happens.
you
yeah,
should
yeah,
be ready to take it,
definitely.
right? Ultimately, but don't be surprised if it's India Pakistan final. I just put that there. Memories of
No,
2007.
I'll be surprised if
I'll be
it is
I'll
an
be
India versus
surprised. I
Pakistan
think
final. Yeah, definitely
um,
surprised.
I think
Honestly, I don't see Pakistan
Unless
qualifying to the
Pakistan pulls off
semi-finals.
unless Pakistan pulls off a Pakistan, I don't expect them to come to the
Yeah,
finals.
Yeah, because
You
if
guys
you
know
think
what I
on
mean,
paper,
right?
South Africa is the stronger team on paper when it comes when you compare them with Pakistan. Because South
Yeah,
Africa have a stable bowling lineup, they have one of the best fast bowling lineups in the world. And when you talk about the batting as well, barring Temba Bavuma, everybody has been scoring. Like everybody has been in great form for South Africa as well. Be it
hmm,
David Miller, Riley Russo, Quinton de Kock has been coming into good form at
yeah.
the right time. Markram has been scoring some good runs in ODIs as well. So I definitely feel that South Africa and India, on paper, they look the favorites to head into the semifinals from
Yeah,
this group.
yeah,
But Pakistan and West
I
Indies,
won't be
you never know.
surprised with that as well, because for Pakistan they will have a Herculean task, and especially if they get that win over India first game, a lot of things simplifies for them. So it's about them getting that first moment. If they lose against India, same thing which happened to India last time. That's going to be a very tough task for them. It's going to be a very tough task. I know they'll get those wins here and there against Bangladesh. They might get a win against West Indies, but it's going to be a Herculean task for Pakistan. The first game is going to be so important, especially you said the uh, set the right kind of tempo going into that tournament. And also, you have a question: do you think Steve Smith can to miss the Australian team? I think we have all agreed to that Steve Smith does not make it to the 11, right? So as long as Steve Smith does not make it to the 11, the Australian team also does not look like they'll also have a hole which they'll be stuck like New Zealand or like any other team. For Pakistan, they have their own issues as well on the other end. But tell me, guys, now let's before we end on the concluding notes. Sanjay, you are a big fan of. You're saying Mohammad Shami should walk in for Team India. Is that what you say?
Yeah, I'll stick to Mohammad Shami, but I'm very impressed with Siraj playing. Although I'm a big Mohammad Shami fan, but right now with the current scenario, it is going to be a very tough call. I may be a bit inclined towards having Siraj in the mix as well, but
Yeah.
definitely against Pakistan, I would try
How about
Mohammad
you
Shami.
have both Shami and Siraj walking into the team and replacing Akshal Patel from the
No,
squad?
no, no, no. That is a bit too far fetched. But I see Bhuvneshwar Kumar. I don't see either of Mohammad Shami or Siraj playing in the first game
I
unless
mean,
something drastic happens to Bhuvneshwar, Arshdeep, or Harshal Patel.
if
So you are
Akshal
saying
wants
Harshal
to
Patel
be
will
a
start the first
batter,
game?
Yeah, I'm saying so far Harshal Patel will start the first game
I
unless
mean,
in
if
the
Akshay
next three
Patel
games
was
he is
not to be, I
formed
mean,
for
if
50 runs in
Shami
all the
or
games.
Siraj were a better batsman than Akshay Patel, then they would have had a chance because it's Australia, and India probably would have still gone with four fast bowlers. I mean, two of them who could bat, three of them. I mean,
Yeah.
two of them who could bat, but because they've got Hardik Pandya in the batting lineup who can offer those overs anyway, and then you've got Akshay Patel who can bat more than anyone else. I think he will fit in there because of that reason, right? Because if you remove Akshay Patel and you bring in Siraj or Shami, that destroys the balance of
No,
your
no,
batting.
Akshal Patel, Harshal Patel, Harshal Patel.
I don't think Harshal Patel is going anywhere again because of the batting, right?
Yeah.
But until and unless
Especially because he
it
has
must.
he has
But
established
then
himself as a number
I
seven player
feel
as well.
I
You may
feel
see
he
at
still.
days Harshal Patel will come in at number seven instead of
Yeah, but
Akshar
then
Patel.
I think if Harshal Patel, though if Harshal Patel really is going to do badly in the next, I think they'll try him till the warm ups. But if he continues to be as horrible
I
as he
still
has
think
been,
Harshal Patel is not as bad as a bowler as what we see right now of him. I still think he's got it in him.
no,
If it's about
he is
him
one of the
getting,
best. But he's looking like he's
he's looking.
underconfident
It's a
right now,
confidence
and
thing, right?
that's what's hurting him. Right? He's not getting
Yeah.
his lengths right. He's not getting his plans. He's not executing his plans well. And if that trend continues till the warm ups, you might see changes happen.
Mainly
Uh,
he's being a bit too predictable. I think he has
yeah,
to get away from the.
What will be
I want
India's
Harshal
main
Patel to come in
objective
and
in the
bowl
practice
24
match
fast
against
deliveries
West
in
Indies?
one game.
I think this is a very good question. What will be the main objective? I think every match before the World Cup is about objective, and he's mentioned the right word. It's about taking the boxes. So in the first match, you got a pos. Surya Kumar Yadav has been in good form, so I don't think that's an objective for Team India. Death bowling is a concern. Even in the last match, you saw they were close to 30 runs leaked in the last 2 overs. So that's still a concern for Team India in the death. And this Western Australia team is the best practice you can get. You have a Andrew Ty, you have a Jason Behrendorff, and you have a Jair Richardson. They're topmost three best fast bowlers in Australia. And you have a Darcy Short, and you have some really good batters. You saw Sam Fanning score that 50 runs again. So it's actually as good as playing any international team in a warm game against a strong Western Australia team. So I think death bowling is going to be India's again an objective for Team India, and Harshal Patel to get him back into form as we were talking. If Harshal Patel can get a good spell in tomorrow in Vaka, there's going to be nothing like it. I think Indians will be really hoping. Jaren, your thoughts on that? What is going to be India's main objective tomorrow?
Yeah, I think India's main objective is their, is their third seamer of sorts, I would say, and that's probably it. I don't think India has any other problems as of now. India looks their batting order looks settled completely. They've got the right template set in. They're playing very well. All the batsmen, I think. I don't think any batsman there has been any innings where any. I mean, in the past few series, I don't think any of the Indian batsmen has consistently disappointed. Everyone has raised their hands once at least, and that means that India's batting is set. The only problem I see right now is probably Chehel and Harshal Patel. Those are the only two glaring problems for India right now.
Chahal looked
If
good in the last game, so
Yeah, I
let's.
think that's a good sign right there. But you would want, I think you would want Chahal to keep doing consistently well. That's
Yeah,
just, and
and he
I'll be
Probably
also
the
honest.
hasn't
start
been
I
will
think
be
that
in the head
bad of a
rather
form.
than on the pitch, because he has to be aggressive. He has to come into the pitch with an aggressive
Yeah, and
mindset.
and
Yeah,
Chahal is the aggressive player, and if India were to even replace Chahal with say an Ashwin, that would hurt India to a large extent because Ashwin is again a defensive bowler, and Akshar also I would still put him in that defensive bowler because that's his default setting. Akshar,
yeah.
when he's confident, likes to toss the ball up, but that's how he starts at least. And because of this that reason is I mean that's why Chahal they want Chahal to pick wickets really utmost important for India. That's one objective, and then obviously Harshal Patel. And I feel out of these two, Harshal Patel is that one player who has his place, which is the most threatened because we've got some pacers who can do the job that Harshal Patel will do. I mean, Harshal Patel will do, but I still think Chahal is still secure in the fact that he's the only aggressive sort of
I
bowler
think
that
it's
we
just
have.
one position India are concerned about right now. That's Harshal Patel's position.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the team is almost set, and that's one area India will have to figure out. But if you talk about England, I think it's just one position again: Harry Brooks or Sam Curran or Adil Rashid as well. So that's one area for England. For Australia, they'll also be slightly unhappy with their death bowling, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to Pat Cummins and Mitchell Stark going for a lot of runs, and they'll be unhappy with also
And
the
I
fact
think
that
also Aaron Finch is probably another worry for them.
yeah, that's for Australia. For Pakistan, it's the same old story again. The middle order is a big concern for Team Pakistan. The bowling has looked good. Mohammad Wasim also has done decently well, but
Yeah, it's
uh,
nice to see him do well.
yeah, but their batting looks like another concern. For New
Correct.
Zealand, it's Kane Williamson's position which is concerned. Whether to go with them, whether not to go with them, that's another thing which New Zealand will have to answer. Sanimani, before we end the live, if I would at this point, looking at all the teams which we have, who looks the best on the paper? Who looks like the strong favorites? Keeping your biases, everything aside.
Yeah, I think if I will really keep my biases aside, I think England looks the strongest, especially with the convincing win that they with the performance that they displayed against Australia. Batting first, they won two games by small margins. But yeah, I think it's England, closely followed by Australia and India, and then you have
Yeah.
somebody like a South Africa and New Zealand playing the catch up.
No Pakistan.
No, I
Pakistan,
mean,
I feel Pakistan, Sri Lanka, West Indies, they are on the same level right now.
Yeah, interesting. So Sri Lanka is one team I'm looking forward to them as well. I think we'll do an episode on the dark horses because it's an interesting episode which we'll do before any tournament. And I know last time the dark horse went on to win the World Cup. So if you're including Pakistan in it, be aware of it. Or if you're including West Indies in it,
I
or
mean, that is the thing about Pakistan, right? You don't know which Pakistan turns up on that particular day. You might write off Pakistan, and then suddenly everyone is doing well. The team is gelling
See, yeah,
together,
Pakistan with
and
if the middle order performs, Pakistan is a very strong team. I'll definitely
I
pick
mean,
them
right
along with.
now by stats, right? I mean, as I mentioned, right? Iftikhar and Babar are the only ones who have average about 10. I mean 20 rather in Australia. Everyone else in the current 11 have struggled
20,
in Australia.
And
20 is a
it's
So
not
bad
just
average, man.
even
and
Rizwan.
just to think about it,
Rizwan
it's
has
not just
struggled.
the batting. I think even the bowling
Also,
has been.
I mean, I looked at the bowling as well, and this bowling lineup hasn't played
Yeah, the
any
inexperience in the
T20
bowling
in
lineup and the
Australia.
inexperience
So
in the
even
middle order.
Shaheen Afridi has not played any T20I in Australia.
Sanimani, what do you have to say about 152 for zero? That's a
Yeah, I
thing
mean,
which.
it's a different year, the different team. If you can beat India 152 for 0 in this season, it is going to be not this
I
season.
mean,
I mean, this
all
World
I have
Cup.
to say, Aisha, is for the 11th match that we lost, I mean, 12th match that we lost, there were 11 matches that we won. So we don't want to be sitting here and talking about all those
No,
innings.
just
But
talk about stats as well. I mean, Pakistan leading into this tournament, they don't have a proper middle order. They have an inexperienced bowling lineup, and that is why we'll put them in the dark horses category. Otherwise, on paper, I think England, Australia
But
are
you know, I
very.
You know,
mean,
the good thing for
one thing
Pakistan,
about Pakistan,
as long as that wicket column stays zero, it's all good for them. The moment it goes
Yeah,
one or two, then it just
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
definitely,
and I think
definitely. Yeah.
that's the way to beat Pakistan. You get their two
And
wickets
I think
out.
that is the only way Pakistan is
You
going to win matches if they don't lose on
and
early
the
wickets.
more out of the 120 balls, if the 8 wickets of Pakistan, play the most deliveries, then suddenly Pakistan in trouble. Otherwise, Pakistan look an excellent team, and if they could find one more Babar or Rizwan, this team would have looked an
No,
excellent
if they
team.
find one more Babar and Rizwan, they can play one day cricket, not T20 cricket. So rather they play, so they rather
Yeah, but
want
I mean,
batters who can
and
really activate it.
I'll be honest, Shoaib Malik should be on that on that flight because
But
again,
whatever I'm
Shoaib
hearing, I'm
Malik is
also hearing that
Shoaib
Fakhar
Malik has
Zaman
done
might
well.
get a call. You know, Fakhar Zaman might be fit and playing against India because they're not happy with Shan Masood. So that,
Definitely. I mean, they are
That
so.
was just a Pakistan call. You lost the Asia Cup. They had to find a scapegoat, and they did. They
yeah.
found multiple scapegoats rather, and it
Now
does
they
not
lost
work.
things
It
against
does not
England.
work
They
like
have to,
that, right?
yeah.
And that's been the issue with Pakistan. I think if Pakistani board looks beyond a lot of these, a lot of factors that they actually look into,
I really don't understand
and
where is Azam Khan. You know, Azam Khan is such a strong player, very good striker, middle order bat. I don't know why he's been just singing songs for Barbados Royals there. He should be at least given some time for Pakistan's dugout. They played Azam Khan when he was so young and raw, but not when he's matured. Right now he's matured. Rakim Cornwall, Azam Khan, they literally was covering the wicket, man. Ballers had no option where
Yeah.
to hit. They were both standing in the middle. They had a partnership of 150 odd in one of the games, and they both are
Yeah,
looking like the most deadliest duo for me. You know, if they both get together. Azam Khan, I'm a huge fan of him. Such a clean striker of the ball. I don't know why Pakistan haven't
definitely.
tried him.
And also Cornwall too. I mean, Cornwall. I think because of his
Cornwall is
fitness issues,
is actually a very exciting player, I would say.
very
Uh,
exciting player. But I think he
yeah.
has a lot of fitness issues, and that is why I think West Indies
Of
did not.
course, of course, he has
I mean,
fitness.
I don't know if you guys remember that one match where Pollard really got mad at him because I
Yeah,
think
but that is
hitting a
Pollard.
lot.
I mean, I'll always not talk about Pollard when it comes to sportsman spirit and like asking people to be sportsmanly and play play, because
He did give away
Pollard has
that run to
really
India. I
questionable.
remember he had let the ball go, allowed
But you know
Dhoni to
what?
kick another
For
single.
Pakistan, I really think they missed a trick over here by not getting a middle order bat. But still, if Pakistan can get the first win against India, they're well set to qualify for the semi final
No,
against.
I think for
Yeah,
me,
definitely. I
Pakistan,
mean, the
if
India versus
Pakistan
Pakistan
win,
game will determine who will sort of take the pedal, because
Yeah,
whoever loses in that India versus Pakistan encounter, it will be very difficult for that team to come against South Africa and beat them.
yeah.
So
It's going to be important for
and
India
also
and
I think
for Pakistan.
being said that, I mean, having said that, I think the way for Pakistan to go is if Babar and Rizwan play 10 overs together, and then either Rizwan or Babar play till the 20th over, and if you give, I think most of the Pakistani middle order batsmen are batsmen. If you give them 20 balls with a clear mindset to go after the bowling, they will do well most often than not. Because I think someone like Mohammad Asif or Iftikhar Rahman, I mean, all these batsmen love to go after the bowling. But for that, they cannot play. They are not batsmen who will play those 10 overs, 15 overs, right? The batsmen who will
Mhm.
play those 20 overs and give that impact to you. So as long as
Yeah.
bowlers don't ball short ball at them and allow
but those
them to
impact
really.
performances have been coming
You
so
know
like
what? I'm
it's
really
been coming one in
disappointed. You know,
70
I
years.
won't be able to watch that match, unfortunately, because I have an exam which is scheduled at like 1:30, 2 o'clock on Sunday of 23rd. So either I
Brilliant.
leave the paper halfway and be like, "Come on,
That
don't
could be
care about it."
such an MS Dhoni moment, right? I mean, I'm like pass ho gaya, so now I have to watch the match. Cricket ke liye.
So that's
No,
the
I
worst
think
part.
right now we'll have different timings for our life, so Abel might as
Yeah.
well
So
just.
I think
Yeah.
I'll be there for the live, but I won't be able to watch the match. Can you believe that I won't be able to watch an India Pakistan match on a Sunday because there's an exam scheduled at 2 in the afternoon? So that's really disappointing for me. And I really blame my university for that. Anybody from the university watching it, I'm not happy with you, man. You know what? Because the exam was to be scheduled for 8th of October, they rescheduled to 23rd. So that's what's even hurting more. If it was the earlier
Very
scheduled exam, I
convenient.
would have understood.
And I'll add another. I mean, and Abel's is the only subject which has been postponed. So I am free. For example, I had an exam on 8th, and I am gonna be watching the match.
And see, I have an exam called the law of evidence. So, मैं क्या evidence ढूंढूं मैं? I'm just so disappointed at this fact, and that's why I don't know what to say. But in either ways, we'll be joining you guys from World Cup onwards. We'll be doing live at 6 in the evening, and we'll be doing a fantasy prediction at night 10. So that's a smaller segment. If you want to join for a longer live, join at 6 in the evening. After all the 3 games or 2 games are over in a day, we'll be joining at 6 to 7:30 or whatever time it is. And at night 11:30, we'll be joining for a fantasy preview of the games next day. So that's the plan as of now. So do join us and have a good night. It's been great discussing a lot of games with you all tonight. We'll be back again before the marquee event, before the Super 12s. And also, we'll be discussing the qualifiers. We have UAE who's there to watch out for, Sri Lanka, West Indies, Zimbabwe. We'll be covering the underdogs tomorrow. So, not tomorrow, day after
And
tomorrow.
and
We'll be
I'll
covering
I'll be
underdogs.
very like Namibia, Netherlands. They look a strong side on the paper as well, on paper as well, because
Yeah,
even though they
I'm
are going to
pretty sure.
heading to the group against Australia and England, but still, I mean,
So on
it's a
Friday
good
we'll
side.
be joined. By that time we'll know who will be winning the Tri Series as well. But we'll be covering the underdogs. I'm not going to put Pakistan as an underdog, but definitely I'll be talking about underdogs of the teams who have yet to qualify for the World Cup and who can make a surprise in the World Cup. May
No,
include Sri
I
Lanka.
mean we can put Pakistan and New Zealand as the dark horses, like not really the
Yeah.
underdog, but yeah,
So horse is better than dog, is what you're trying to
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. When you put it that way, yeah.
I think everyone is trying to create a Twitter war or something. I mean, be
Horse is
careful.
better than a dog. So
Yeah.
if you guys like, if horse is better than a dog, do comment in the chat below. Who is better?
All
Is
right.
it a horse or a dog?
Aisha is definitely going to comment over there.
A dark
I
horse or an underdog. So these two terms are very cliche. I'd rather call, let's find a new word for them. A teams who can surprise. It
Yeah.
sounds more positive. It sounds like
yeah.
teams, well,
Yeah.
surprise packages of the World Cup. And I think Temba Bavuma will be the top scorer for this World Cup. So I'm going to end the live on that note. And good night. Have a good time.
Good night, guys.